Hey there. Tonight on the reflections thing, I'm just going to be talking about motorcycle cops and cops in general, but specifically motorcycle police. Run-ins with them or ones I've known. I'll start off a long time ago when I first started riding on the street. I had an old Ironhead Sportster XLCH, typical drag pipes because they sound really good on there. I can remember riding. You get pulled over. I get pulled over, and cops hassling me about the noise of the bike. So he asked if I had baffles in there. I played stupid. I was like, man, I couldn't tell you if I do or not. So he whips his nightstick out like he's, whatever. Whips his nightstick out really quick, shoves it in the rear pipe there, and it goes, all the way in there up to his hand. He's like, nope, no baffles. So he whips out his little ticket book and writes me a ticket. Now, this isn't a ticket that you have to pay. This is a safety ticket, meaning in that state, you got a safety repair order. You had to take it to an inspection station, and they'd inspect it, and then they'd sign it. And it's on like a little postcard, and then you had to mail the postcard into the DMV. And got it inspected the first time, and that guy signed it. They don't charge anything for it. And didn't think about it. Mailed it in and didn't even think about it. So about a week later, I was out riding again, and same thing. Got pulled over. Got just noise. Not getting pulled over for anything else. Just noise. So same thing. Guy whips out nightstick, shoves it in there, and it goes all the way in. And let me go back. The first time I actually did put baffles in there, them little tin can looking baffles that look like you used a church key to pop the metal in. This thing sounded horrible. So I put those in there, took them right back out, threw them in my tool bag on the bike, and forgot about it. Then the next week, I got pulled over again, and that guy, same thing, shoves his nightstick in there, and he's like, no baffles. So he gave me one too. And I didn't even bother taking it into a repair station. I just took the card in there. I knew some guy, and he just signed it and said, here. I mailed that one in, not thinking, I got two of them in within a week of each other. So didn't even think about it. Didn't faze me. So a couple of weeks later, or it hit me, I put, it's already got 2 1/4-inch holes drilled in the pipes. So I stuck a couple of, I think, 1.25-inch long bolts up in there with a couple of nuts and tightened them up. So a couple of weeks later, I'm not even pulled over. I'm in a parking lot getting ready to take off. And this woman comes up, cop, police officer, policewoman, whatever you want to call her. And she wants to know where my helmet is. I'm like, I'm guessing it's at home. We didn't have the helmet law then, so, her asking me that was neither here nor there. And then she starts asking me about my eye protection. I guess she didn't like my sunglasses or whatever. And, no biggie. I'm not going to buy new sunglasses just because you don't like them. And then she's like, well, that bike was mighty loud. I'm like, how the hell do you know it was loud? It's been sitting here in the parking lot without you here. She's like, well, I heard you pulling in earlier. So she does the nightstick thing too. She pulls her nightstick out, shoves it up in the pipe, and it goes in there about 3 or 4 inches, something like that, and stops because of the bolts I put in there. And anyway, they used to hassle you about stuff like that. And they'd hassle you about bars too, if the bars were too high or your tail light was too, Maryland was weird. Your bars couldn't be more than 18 inches off the top of the seat, and your tail light couldn't be less than 18 inches off the ground or something like that. And headlight had to be so high off the ground, and your seat height couldn't be too low or too high or whatever. And they'd stick to that because they could screw with you about it. And they used to screw with you a lot. And then as years went by, probably late 80s, probably about the same time they enacted the damn seatbelt law, that kind of crap. They seemed like they quit messing with stuff like that. But that's just one. The next one, when I was a kid, we had a neighbor that lived up the street, and he was a DC policeman, motorman, motor cop. And I always thought that was the coolest thing because he'd ride his bike home from work, and sometimes he'd give kids in the neighborhoods a ride around, set them up in front of him on the saddle there, and give them a little ride around the neighborhood or whatever. And cool guy. He had been he'd been a motorman for a really long time already, or probably already 20 years. I think he when he came back from Korea, from the Korean War, he joined the police department there in DC, and he wasn't from the area. I don't know how he came to be around the DC area, but that's neither here nor there. And been a motorman ever since. Went through their police academy and motorcycle cop school or whatever, because they get motorcycle cops used to get paid a little bit more money than everybody else. And so his first year, he came in and he was out on patrol just on his motorcycle, and it started snowing. And them guys were, they ride rain, snow, cold, hot, whatever. And in wintertime, they had these lap robes that you wear on the motorcycles. Long time ago. You can look it up and see what they look like. It started snowing pretty good, so he comes in back to the garage there down on, I can't remember what street it is. I've been there. I know where it is, but I can't remember what street it's on, down there by the river in DC. And goes to his motor sergeant. He's like, well, it started snowing out. I need to get a car. And his motor sergeant looks at him and says, your car's right over there, pointing at his sidecar. That's the only car you get. You get paid extra every month to be out there riding around on these here motorcycles. So go put your sidecar on and get back out there in the snow. Okay. So he had a good one. He's telling me that they used to, middle of the night, all the motorcycle cops or a bunch of them would get together and they'd block off like Rhode Island Avenue down there by the White House, and they'd race up and down Rhode Island Avenue at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever. And he said they used to do this thing where they put their sidecars on and they'd ride down Rhode Island Avenue like this with the sidecar up in the air. And the thing was, they wanted to see who could ride the farthest with the sidecar sticking up in the air. And they'd do that and tell their motor sergeant to call them because somebody's complaining of the noise or whatever. Tell them, knock it off and get back to work. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I've known that guy since I was a little kid, man. But very, very, very nice man. Nice family, nice kids, nice wife. Still talk to her once in a while. Last time I seen him, unfortunately, was at a funeral. But we were talking, and he told me, and this was probably, I don't know, it's been probably 15 years, 13, 14, 15 years, something like that. It's been a while ago. But, you got to realize he's already 70-something years old. And he tells me, I just rode one of them Hayabusas not that long ago. And I was like, what'd you think of it, man? He said, whew, good thing we didn't have those when I was working. I was like, yeah, they're a hoss, aren't they? He said, yeah, I really liked it. It's actually pretty comfortable and got enough power. I was like, yeah, what'd you have it up to? It's like, man, I took it up to about 160, and that's all I needed to do. Cool. So I remember one time he came home from work, and we're outside playing, and he comes riding up, and his pants are all torn up on the right side over here, like torn. Holster for his pistol is worn off. End of his pistol's ground down a little bit. He's bleeding. He's got blood on his pants. I asked him, like, what the hell happened? Mister, I can't say his name, but what the hell happened, mister? He's like, I was going up an on-ramp on getting on to 270 or getting off the beltway or whatever. And I guess he said he hit some patch of oil or antifreeze or whatever, and bike just threw him on the ground, and he had to lay it down. So years later, probably 90s. I think it was in the 90s, late 80s, 90s, somewhere in there. We were talking, and I asked him, I was like, why don't you, it had to be late 80s because he had just retired. I said, why don't you get a motorcycle? And he's like, nah, I've been riding them every day for the past 30-something years. I don't need one. Okay, cool. But that's that one. The next one was we used to sell police bikes at a dealership, and we had these two guys from a police department from a small town down the road. There was only two motorcycle cops because they only had two motorcycles. Those were both like mid-80s FXRPs, which are the FXR lowrider police bikes with the goofy fairing on them, that they absolutely loved. Those things were beaten to crap. I mean, they were always in for repairs. Just had a lot of miles on them. But they loved them. But they had been a recent buy when the police buy bikes, they get a better discount the more people they can get them. So it's like a group buy. They'll have like local town police, county police, whatever, city police, state police, all go in together. They'll buy all these, try to get everybody to order so they can all order motorcycles together. And they did. And I guess the town, they wanted these basically Road King police bikes, as FLHRPs, is what they ended up with. And they hated them. Them two guys hated them. But they used to do this course every year in Maryland where they would have state police would put on like a motorcycle cop refresher course or whatever. It's basically a test. They go out there and they can do a little road course and, traffic cones and a little race around crap and stuff. But which, most of them, you're not going to really damage the bikes much doing that. But they also make them go off-road with these bikes in this course. And one of the things is, they're riding through fields and trails and, trail riding an 800-pound motorcycle, and then they make them do a hill climb. We're talking about on street tires, hill climb on grass, up a I haven't been there, but what I'm told is a pretty damn steep hill. But, you don't know. I mean, I don't know how steep it is. Could have been a 45-degree hill, could have been a 25, 30, whatever, who knows. But these two guys that had just bought these, or the town had just bought them these two bikes, they went through this course with these Road Kings, and they bring them in, need an estimate for repairs. I was like, oh shit, what happened? So he's explaining to me that they did the course and everything was cool, and didn't lay any bikes down until they were doing the off-road course. One of them hit a tree, and it's tree damage, so, engine guard and I think handlebars, and something else was screwed up on the bike. I think he broke the windshield or something. And the other one, they had on the hill climb section, he got almost to the top of this hill and lost traction. And he said, "Man, I just let it go. I'm not rolling down the hill like 800-pound motorcycle rolling on top of me. I just got up there and I'm like, whoop, that's it. I got off of it and let it fall down the hill." He said, "I sat there and watched it, flip over a couple of times down this hill until it came to a rest. And, it wasn't horrible. Got the engine guard, of course, got the gas tank. I think bent the brake lever, rear brake lever, and bent some other stuff. The tank was pretty much crushed on the top where handlebars actually bent down when it flipped over. The right bar was bent, so it kinked into the gas tank, almost put a hole in it. But them guys really hated them FLH RPs. And another one had a state cop, really tall guy, like 6'6", 6'7", huge. I mean, muscle bound. Really not the kind of cop you want to back talk to. And bring a bike in. Well, before he brings it in, he comes in and I know the guy. I've seen him, worked on his bike before. So he comes back to the machine shop and he's asking me, he's like, "Man, I need to bring that FLHTP in for some work. Base gaskets were leaking, I think. Evo, so base gaskets were leaking." So he's sitting there and he's like, "Hey man, can we do something to pep that thing up a little bit while you got the top end off?" I was like, "Yeah, I said, "The state police ain't going to pay for that." He's like, "Oh no, the state police ain't going to pay for that. I'm going to pay for it out of my pocket." Why you got it apart? Work me up an estimate. I worked them up. Bolt it. Simple bolt-in cam. I'll mill the heads 82 thousandths while I got the heads off, and do a valve job and check the springs and all that. And we'll put a 6,200 RPM rev limiter on there instead of the 52. Give them another 1,000 RPM. I'm asking him about it, rev limit. He's like, "Yeah, you have to realize on the Evos, all of them really, when it says that the rev limit's 5,200, some of them really start retarding the timing about 45. So you can have one, you'll be revving it, and you notice that it gets up to about 45, 48, somewhere in there. And it feels like it's bucking a little bit. It's losing power. It's starting to retard the timing early. And some of them are exactly 52, which is rare, but most of them are right around 5,000. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So we put a 6,200 RPM rev limiter on there. And he's like, "Man, I got to keep this on the quiet because I'll get in trouble if they found out I did this." Because gasket kits, that's police department. And everybody else, that's under warranty through Harley. So yeah, did it, and he's happy about that. I got one more. This guy. This is down here in North Carolina. This guy wasn't a motorcycle cop, but he was a customer of mine that happened to ride a motorcycle. He just happened to be a sheriff. So I'd gone to Raleigh, pick up parts at the Harley dealer, and I'm driving back to the shop down through the country, and my inspection sticker had run out. I didn't have it inspected, and my tags were dead. So my fault, Anyway, I'm rolling down out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, "Man, there ain't going to be no cops out here. Why would there be cops out here in the middle of nowhere?" Sure as shit, I pull up this hill, and there's 2 cop cars sitting there, pulling people over, checking inspections and insurance and license or whatever. And I pull up there, and a young guy comes up. The first thing he does is look at the inspection sticker on my windshield, and he's like, then he wants to see my driver's license and registration. I pull it out and the insurance card and all that and give it to him. And I guess he didn't really look at it to see that my registration was dead. So he's sitting there talking to me, and he's like, man, I'm not going to be able to let you drive home because this thing needs an inspection. You have to leave it here and have somebody come get you and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't even pay attention to the other cop, really, at first. And then he comes walking over. He walks over and he's talking to the younger cop, and he sees me. And he comes over and looks at my inspection sticker. He's shaking his head. He's like, hey, Russell, how you doing, man? Good, man. How you doing? So he walks around to the back of the truck, and he's looking at my plate. I see him shaking his head because tags are dead. Again, my fault. So he comes walking back up, and he's like, man, you really need to get sent inspected and get your tag stickers done. I'm gonna let you go because your insurance is good. Okay. And before I leave, he goes, hey, man, I really need to get my bike serviced. When can I do it? Bring it on. Whenever you can get it to me, I'll do it right away. What am I going to do? Say, nah, I can't do it. So you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, kind of thing. So I did. Serviced his bike. That's not the only time. When I first moved down here, I had a Ducati 900 SS, and was riding through town, not this town, riding through Clinton, and just cruising around. And I'm going through down there, and I knew I shouldn't have done it. I already knew that. It's stupid. There's some little kids there, and they're like, so I'm like, and there's more kids. There are like whole groups of kids. I'm sitting there at the damn stoplight, more kids, and they're all like, so I left the stoplight and did a little, not really high, maybe 2 feet off the ground, high enough. And as soon as I did, I heard, woo, damn it. So I pulled over there, and this local city cop gets out, and he walks over, and he's like, take my helmet off, and he wants my driver's license and all this crap. So I give it to him. And he doesn't even look at it. He's just sitting there holding it, and he's looking at me, he goes, man, you're old enough to know better than to do that. I'm like, yeah, I know. So we're sitting there talking because I still had out-of-state tags on there. And we're talking, and he's like, what do you do for a living? I never should have told him that. I told him motorcycle mechanic. So, of course, he's out, man. I got a 78, 79 KZ 1000, whatever it was. And it needs this, and it needs that, and it needs the other thing. Oh, okay. Well, here's my number, man. Gave him my phone number. And I didn't do that one for free. He paid for that, but yeah, that was okay. And the absolute last one, this is when I was working at a Harley dealer up the road there in Smithfield. Had a customer there, older gentleman, that pretty good engine builder, or actually great engine builder. He had a FXR Super Glide, 80 something, 86, 87, 88, somewhere in there. I want to say it was an 88, but it could have been earlier than that. But done a lot of work to it. It had bigger motor in it, and 2-into-1 exhaust, tall shocks, suspension work up front. And I got to admit, the thing was a hoss, man. I'm getting ready to test ride a V-Rod, which, the V-Rod's okay. They're fairly powerful. But we go out, we're riding around, and we come over, I want to say 70 towards Selma, coming out, headed east. And it's like, you go down this road, and there's a bridge where you go over this bypass, over this bridge, and then it kind of curves, goes down the bridge, and it curves into the left to get on 70. So we leave that stoplight there before you get to the bridge. It's a pretty good haul over there. And we get up to the top of the bridge there, and I'm looking, and he's still right there with me. And I'm looking, and I hit the bridge, and I'm probably doing 100 and about 130, and he's right there behind me. It's like shit. So we pull over the bridge there, and crank over the left a little bit, headed down. And as soon as we crest over the hill there and you're headed down, look to the right, and there's a cop car sitting right there. And he's looking dead at us. I was like, shit. So I choked the throttle back a little bit. And I know I'm already caught, so I choked the throttle back a little bit, but I'm still doing over 100. I don't want to offset the chassis because I'm kind of cranked over a little bit on the left side coming over this bridge. So I was like, shit. So the guy with me, he's 70. Back then, he's probably over 70 years old because he's got to be in his 90s now and still rides. For whatever reason, the cop starts waving like this. He ain't waving at me, he's waving at the old man. So, by the time we get down there, I'm already dedicated. I'm not stopping, but for whatever reason, the guy with me slows down and pulls over on the side of the road and just kind of waits there for the cop. Well, the cop pulls up, and I kept going. I wasn't stopping. I was like, shit, this ain't my bike. And it's customer's bike, which, hey, don't be riding customers' bikes at 130 miles an hour. Just saying. And I go down through the country because I'm doing this all the time down the road, looking behind me, expecting. I'm looking out, looking red, looking ahead, looking around, looking behind me for expecting cops to show up. I cut down through, right down there out in the middle of nowhere, cut down that road and then cut down another road. And I'm doing this the whole time down through, cutting on different roads. And stopped over somewhere, got a soda, smoked a cigarette, and eventually said, well, shit, I got to go back to the damn shop. I want company time there. So I go back to the shop, and, the whole time I'm nervous. I'm nervous as all get up. I'm expecting, a parking lot full of cops there, and, I'm just like, shit, I'm going to get a damn ticket. I'm going to get in trouble for this crap, whatever. So I go back to the shop, and there's that old man sitting there. And I go up, pull up next to him, shut the bike off, and take the helmet off, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, what happened, man? Did you get a ticket? He's like, nah, that was so-and-so. That was the sheriff at that time for Johnston County. They went to high school together or whatever. He said, he ain't going to give me no damn ticket. He said he was mighty curious to know who the hell you were. And I said, what'd you tell him? I said, I told him I didn't know, man. It was just some guy that come flying by me down the road, and I didn't know who it was. Whew, okay, cool. That's about it for cops there. I know. I appreciate you sitting there listening through this stuff. I'm just I've been thinking about it because I got a message from somebody about somebody being ill. Well, they are getting pretty old, so I thought I'd do that. This is long enough for this thing. I don't know if anybody's going to make it. Anybody just wants to hear these stories from some old guy talking about other old guys. I know it's a sore subject. A lot of people don't like cops for whatever reason, but they have a job to do, just like I have a job to do and you have a job to do. And I couldn't do their job. I wouldn't want to. I remember asking the old motorcycle cop. We were talking one time, and what's the hardest part of his job? And he told me. He said, the hardest part of my job is having to go to somebody's house I don't know, knock on the door, and tell them that their son or daughter was killed in an automobile accident or shot or raped or murdered or whatever. He says, that's the hardest part of my job. He said, every time I have to do it, it brings tears to my eyes. I have to tell somebody's parents or somebody's kids, even worse, that their parents were killed, murdered, whatever. That's the hardest part of my job. So I could see that. I couldn't do it. Anyway, I hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend. Have fun out there. Be careful. And thanks for watching. Appreciate it. New subscribers, old subscribers, anybody watching, I appreciate all of you. And the truth is, I should have done it in 2008 or 2009, whenever, but didn't. So, whatever. Anyway, hope everybody had a great weekend. Be careful out there. Have fun. I know I sound like your dad here, but I want you to be safe out there. Not too safe. Safe enough.